This show is brought to you by Drift Outfitters in Toronto at 199 Queen Street East. Drift is remaining open during these difficult times, but with a new way of getting you your fly fishing goods without allowing customers into the shop. Visit them online at driftoutfitters.com to order products and take advantage of free shipping across Canada on orders over $100. Why not help them out during this difficult time for small businesses? Give them a shout out on Instagram. Got a great photo to share? Tag at Drift Outfitters. Also, you can tag your fly tying pics with hashtag self-isolation to show your friends and your followers how you're spending your downtime. Giving Drift more exposure and love right now is one way we can help keep them going. These are tough times, and we must find a way to continue supporting our community store. Visit driftoutfitters.com for more information. Hello and welcome to another episode of So Fly. It is it's April. Can you believe it? It's time is certainly flying by now with all this isolation going on. My name is Mitch, and we've got Aldo.
Hey everybody.
We've got Yelma.
Hey.
We've got a very special guest on the show today. Very excited to be talking with Stephen Brunt. Stephen, how's it going?
Hey, it's great. How are you?
Very, very good. Very excited to have you on the show. For people listening at home, Stephen, what do you do?
I work for Sportsnet. I'm an old sports writer, but I worked for the Globe and Mail for a long time as the sports columnist there, but I've been at Sportsnet since 2011. So I do radio, I do TV, I write a bit for the website, I write books. Which means that right now I'm doing a lot of sports stuff without sports, which is a bit of a challenge, but we're getting by somehow.
Yes, and no, we're super excited to have you on, and of course, you're probably one of the best guests to have on in terms of radio voice. So we're very excited about that too.
Yeah, it's not for a newspaper guy. It's okay. You know,
Yeah.
but it's not. Sometimes you win a bit of a genetic lottery. So I'm happy to have it. It's helped me out. Believe me.
Totally. We're not drinking any 40 Creek right now because it's the afternoon, and I drank a little too much 40 Creek last night. But I'm drinking some tea, and looks like everybody else is just kind of hanging low in their quarters. Stephen, whereabouts are you calling from today?
I am from my home office in Hamilton, so
Nice.
The kind of the neighborhood around McMaster University, where I've lived we've been here for 30 years. I'm from Hamilton too. I grew up here, so I grew up on the mountain.
Nice.
Nice.
And how are you finding life in these strange times?
It's very odd. It's odd for all of us, right? I've been busy, which is good. We're doing 3 hours of radio a day still, and I can do it from home. I've got a little home studio here, Thailand, so I can do that. I did my first interview, for digital. It'll be digital, but a television interview essentially yesterday using the same kind of technology.
Yep.
We're using here with Cito Gaston for some of those
Right
Blue Jay replays that we're running right now.
Awesome.
Doing a bunch of writing, so I'm trying to kind of keep in a routine and stay busy, and and otherwise try to be pretty disciplined about things. My mom lives about 10 minutes from here, and she's 89 years old, so I got to look out for her.
Yep.
Look, I'm like everybody else. I'm trying not to look too far ahead. I'm finding that's the best way to kind of manage it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
day by day, 100%. Aldo and I were just chatting before this too, of amazed how fast the days go by. Like they just fly.
Yeah. Although I'll tell you, I was at spring training the week it shut down,
Right.
and that seems like, it seems like months ago. It seems like years ago. And it was only a little over 3 weeks ago that we were when the Rudy Gobert test happened, and that was on the Wednesday night, and by Friday night spring training was shut down, and by Saturday night we were on a plane getting the heck out of there, trying to get out of Florida. So it's been time is. There's a weird kind of a time space thing going on right now. I think that we're all experiencing.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, Yilma and I were actually in Tobago. Yilma's from Trinidad, and we were fishing. And the day before we left to come back to Toronto was when the NBA shut down. And then we were like, wow, imagine if like all the sports shut down.
Yeah.
And now that seems like such a it's almost absurd to think that it wouldn't, what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good fanboy moment for me. I mean, I'm a huge Blues Jays fan, so speaking to you, I read your writing quite often, so it's for me personally, pretty exciting to have you on. I remember I used to work at Drift, and one day I was stocking the shelves and I just heard your voice. I was like, wait a minute, I know that voice.
Yeah, I love the shop. I miss, Rob sent me a big box of stuff the last day that they were open, my opening day kit. So
Nice.
I haven't even opened it downstairs.
Nice.
I hope, I hope opening day is opening day. I hope we have some access to the rivers by then. I'm not sure if that's going to be true or not. Doesn't sound great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the things that's been keeping me going. The idea that we could socially isolate on a river and, be able to do that, especially as we get into May, when things get nice. But
Mhm.
anyway, fingers crossed. I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
With us. I mean, yeah, like every year it's such a fun start to the season, the spring, get out there and fish trout with
Yep.
some squirmy worms. And yeah, man, I know it's a bummer, but hopefully it works out. But yeah, it's amazing you've had such a great long career in sports, but it's cool that you're also a fly angler. I think maybe a lot of people don't know that about you, but how did you get into fly fishing at all? Where did it begin?
Well, I was my dad was a fisherman, and but like a hook and bait kind of guy.
Yep.
We lived at that point. We lived up near Georgetown when he was transferred, so we moved up there from Hamilton, and we fished. I fished with him almost every weekend during this trout season in the little streams around there. The little tributaries of the Credit mostly,
Right.
like not the Credit itself, but and it was for for native Brookies, which I'm not sure how many of them are left up there anymore. That water's gotten a lot warmer, in the ensuing years.
Yeah.
But like a foot long fish would be a trophy in
Yeah.
those streams.
Mhm.
So we used to do that. Live grass, like grasshoppers, live bait, which are collecting those things was a pain, but they were
Yeah.
great for trout.
Hmm.
And at a certain point, I don't know why we kind of decided to try and teach ourselves to fly fish. He'd never done it. He fished his whole life, my dad, and but we kind of decided to. We also used to go west every year, so Alberta,
Right.
up around Jasper, and we were in Wyoming and Colorado, places like that. We fished all those places, but we kind of gradually. We didn't know anything about fly fishing really,
Yeah.
but we taught ourselves. We bought some gear. We probably had the wrong gear now when I look back on it. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we taught ourselves to fly fish. So that's how I started doing it. It was for the again for little tiny brookies, and but you learned how to read the water and kind of understand where fish held, and kind of match the hatch to a degree. Like again, where I lived in those days, it wasn't like you had a huge selection of flies, or
Yeah.
a lot of the stuff we take for granted now just didn't just wasn't available. So it was pretty primitive.
Yeah.
But I always loved it. I love to fish, and it was a real bonding thing for my dad and I, and
Mhm.
and then I didn't do it for a long time when my kids were young, and we moved here to Hamilton. And I was at school and work and all of those things kind of swept it away. But I picked up fishing again when my sons were young. They're both, my oldest kid's 32 now. My younger son is 30. And we started messing around, I would fish for anything, anywhere, just to kind of get kids out there somewhere where they could get a tight line.
Yeah.
And at that point, yeah, I kind of rediscovered it and
Mhm.
got more serious about it. And look, I'm still a mess technically because I'm self-taught, and I'm, continually trying to, I have to explain myself to a lot of guides and say, look, this is, you can help me, but it's only going to get so much better. But yeah, my sons have become tremendous fishermen, and yeah, and I've kind of branched out beyond. I trout fish locally a ton, right, very close to where I am here right now. But yeah, I've traveled all over the place, increasingly over the years. Got into saltwater fly fishing,
Yeah.
and
So
then
I've heard.
and then the Newfoundland thing. So yeah, it's become at this stage of my life. Hobby's kind of the wrong word for it, but I do kind of try and arrange my life around
Yes.
fishing and fishing trips, and especially with my kids, because there's nothing better than fishing with your kids.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, like arranging your life around fishing. I think it's something that we all kind of do eventually, like, did the Newfoundland house, you have some property out there, you said, eh?
Yeah, we bought a house there in just on whim. Really, it was really it wasn't well thought through, but we were out there. I was out there writing something for the Globe, and we went back, and I wrote this the real origin stories. I was at the magazine awards, the National Magazine Awards. I'd won an award at the National Magazine Awards, so in 1998, I think. And I ran into the guy who was the editor of Outdoor Canada at that point.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he said, look, somebody, he said, I hear you fish. And I said, yeah, a little bit, he said, would you like to write something for us? So
That's cool.
he said, what do you want to do? We can send you on a trip in Canada, wherever you want to go. And I said, well, look, I've never Atlantic salmon fished. And, it's kind of one of the holy grails. I didn't really know much about it, to be honest.
Good choice. Good
Yeah.
choice.
And at that point I had never been to Newfoundland. So anyway, the trip kind of came together. It was almost a year later, I think, by the time the trip came together. And when I went out and fished a lodge in the Upper Humber, a place it's under a friend of mine owns it now, strangely enough, but I've been back there since. We got there, the water was too high. I was working with a photographer. We had to kill a bunch of time before we could fish.
Yeah.
He was shooting nature stuff. So I got to see the whole northern peninsula of Newfoundland on the west coast of Newfoundland, which is astounding.
Cool. Yeah.
And then I finally got to fish and, didn't know what I was doing at all. And, but I, after like 4 days, finally landed a really nice fish and had a story to write, which was good. I think at a certain point I went back and started using my trout rod like a 6-weight.
Yeah.
So I landed like a 10-pound salmon on a 6-weight, which was fun. Cause I just wasn't comfortable with the bigger gear. I never used it, like I was used to using 4s and like tiny stuff. Right.
Yeah.
And so the long story short, I went back to Newfoundland with my family the next year to cover the regatta in St. John's, the rowing competitions, the oldest sporting event in North America.
Yeah.
And we drove over to the West Coast as tourists and saw an ad in the paper for this little cabin and we bought it.
That's awesome.
Impulsively.
Awesome.
So
that's so
yeah,
good.
it's great. It's right in the middle of Grosse Morne, on Bond
wow.
Bay. So it's one of the most beautiful places in Canada. And I honestly, the salmon part, there's great trout fishing there. There's resident trout. There's sea run brookies in June, which are fantastic. There's mackerel you can throw a fly at if you want in the open water.
That's fun.
Which is fun. But the best thing that's happened there to me in the last 7 or 8 years is that in the national park in Grosse Morne, the park waters are now open as if to non-residents. So you don't have to fish you don't need a guide.
Right.
So I've got one little stretch of the Lomond River there that's in the park that's 10 minutes from my house. I hike into it and I've been able to fish that series of pools by myself every day, from whenever I get there at the end of June until it peters out in July 21st. So I got to teach myself. Like I've been with some great guides too, but being able to fish your own water year after year, see the pools, see how the pools change from year to year, understand where the lies are, and then when the lies move.
Yeah.
And like it's a real, it's the price of a license out there, non-resident is, it fluctuates, but $75 maybe.
Yeah.
But
for the whole year.
For $75 I can fish. Within you have to, the park's regulations are different than the province's regulations, but I'm not tagging fish anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's been great. That's been an enormous education. Like I fished a bunch of other places too with guides.
Yeah.
But being able to fish on my own is what really taught me how to fish for salmon.
Yeah, and learn the water, like you say, and get to know all the different spots you like to fish, and it's a whole other experience, right?
Oh yeah, like I can take people in there now, even if they're really good salmon anglers, and show them a lie that I can say, look, if you stand here, see this rock here, see that over there, because with salmon fishing, it's not always obvious,
right,
where the fish are going to hold, and again, it changes from year to year. But I know that stretch well enough that I can almost tell you, where should be a fish behind that rock, and just swing down to it, kind of thing. So that has been, it's been a great education.
So, okay, so we go back to the Outdoor Canada assignment, when you first went out there to catch that salmon, and you said you had never salmon fished before on the fly. What was going through your head when you got to that river with the photographer and you're like, okay, I gotta stick one of the hardest fish to stick on a fly for this magazine? Like, what was your move? What would you do?
Well, it was, the thing, if you get in certain places in Newfoundland, a lot of places anywhere, but like a lot of grilse in Newfoundland, right? So they're primarily grilse runs.
Right.
But you can be in pools there where it's like Disneyland, where fish are jumping constantly. Like you see fish just jump. And, the hardest thing I think anybody would say who's a trout fisherman or, any kind of other fly fisherman going over to Atlantic salmon is the fact they're not feeding. So you're not trying to mimic food. You're trying to, fish patterns and movement and speed and, color, sometimes shape. It's such a different mindset. and I got to say, I found it frustrating, for the first few years I did it because of that, you could just like fishing grids, it's not that much fun, especially if, in situations where there's no fish moving or jumping, there's no reward, right? That's why I'm not a good steelhead fisherman.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took me a long time to kind of wrap my head around that idea of patterns and I say patterns, speed, angle, patience, right? A different kind of patience. And like sometimes you get lucky and something happens right away and you go tight, but yeah, you can pound away, or you can swing a fly over fish for a day and not move one. So it's a completely different mindset. And most of and again, it was a transition for me. Like that first trip, I'd say it took me 4 days. I hooked a nice fish. It was on a dry fly on a bomber. So the fish, I saw the head come out of the water. It was like, it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
But after that, I got to say, for a few years, I did more trout fishing out there than I did salmon fishing, just because, I like action and I like stuff that I could kind of figure out. Whereas salmon fishing, I found a bit of a mystery still. It took me a while to become kind of committed to it.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough, man. I mean, I think that was kind of like all of our experiences steelheading too, in a way. There's similarities, right? Like, God, I mean, I can't even, the first couple of years, I think I went out steelheading, I didn't catch anything, swinging a dry line and on these pools and Southern Ontario rivers. It's like, it can be super frustrating. And,
I've had many people try and convince me. I've hooked one steelhead on my own.
Nice.
Bouncing an egg imitation in Paris, Ontario, and just got tight on one, got it to me. I said, okay, I've done it. Yeah. And it was cold and there was ice in my eyelets, and but I've never, someday maybe, but it's not, I'm not convinced by steelheading here yet. I'm sure maybe one of these days, but I'd rather go somewhere warmer,
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. I think the fall's nice around here for sure, but then once your guides start icing up, it definitely takes the fun away from it for sure.
Yeah.
Newfoundland's definitely something we've talked about, not a whole lot on the show. I think when we talk about salmon or trout, I think it tends to be the Gaspé or even maybe Labrador, not specifically Newfoundland. The resident trout there, is it all brookies?
Yeah, it's only brookies. There's some escapee rainbows that come into some of the rivers, which is not a good thing. So that's happening a little bit. But yeah, the native fish there are brookies, and there is like a resident population that, they're sort of like the brookies we used to get here. They're not like the ones if you see the old Lee Wolf films of Newfoundland.
Yes.
They used to get 5, 7, 8 pound brook trout in the rivers in Newfoundland. You won't see in terms of resident fish.
Yeah.
So again, a foot long fish is a really good fish there as a resident. But the sea run fish are beautiful. They're not heavily fished. Where on the coast where we are, they come in. There's actually sea run browns around St. John's too, on the other coast. So that's
pretty cool.
That's like 9 hours from where I live. But there's a real good sea run brown right in the city of St. John's.
Yeah.
But where we are, sea run brookies. Especially in June into July a little bit, they'll come in on you fish an incoming tide in the estuary, and they'll come in waves, just popping the surface, throw a little tiny bug, you catch them on a dry fly. You can swing a fly too, and they'll there's bigger fish. You can get a 5 or 6 or 7 pound fish doing that, or you get a ton of 14-inch or 16-inch fish, right? Like they're great, and the local guys fish for them with spinning rods, not with fly rods.
Yeah.
Right.
God, sea run brookies, that's so cool. And what do they look like? Are they like kind of cool looking? I'm gonna Google them. I don't think I've ever seen one.
They're silvery. They don't have the deep, intense colors that the freshwater ones do, so they're more silvery looking. But if you kind of look through the silver, you can see the patterns, the patterns.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Jeez. So Newfoundland, how did you get into, because you like saltwater fishing, you said earlier, eh?
I've become a real big saltwater guy. Yeah.
How did you get into that?
I heard about it, like everybody, you get into fly fishing, bone fishing and stuff, and a buddy of mine bought a trip at an ASF dinner, at the auction, and to a place on Abaco. So nice. So he divided, I think it was like 6 rods or something, right? So it was we got a house and we got a guide and we got 6 rods. So we all divided that up and went down. And again, I'd never done it before. None of us had ever done it before. And yeah, we fished out of Sandy Point, southern part of Abaco, which is very cool, the marls in that area. And yeah, again, didn't know what we were doing, and had limited success, and it challenging in an entirely different way, and strip sets, and a lot of wind, longer casts and wind, being able to manage the wind, being able to manage throwing a lot of line. Accuracy is super important, obviously. Yeah, so like we blew a million casts, and but we all got fish in the end, and it was amazingly beautiful, and being out in the flats and in salt water and seeing all the other stuff you see, the millions of sharks in the Bahamas, and rays and turtles, and triggerfish, and all kinds of stuff. So I loved the place, and it's not, we didn't fish out of a fancy lodge. We the guy who guided us there, Ricardo Burrows out of Sandy Point, just he had a little motel there. Like, we were staying in a house, but it wasn't yeah, but it wasn't one of those $10,000 a week lodges that it's not. So it wasn't like that, and Abaco is not like that in general. So yeah, I got I didn't know if I'd ever get back again. It was a lot of money still, but yeah, the opportunities started to present themselves, and and I had the money to do it, and we went back there a couple of times, and then started branching out, and again with my sons or with friends, and started fishing a bunch of different places. Chasing tarpon a little bit, permit a little bit. Mexico, Belize. I fish on Little Cayman every year. We go down there in January for a little bit. There's a lake with landlocked tarpon there, which is really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great fishery.
So cool.
That's an awesome fishery. Yeah, and so I go to Louisiana for redfish in the fall. So yeah, branched out. Anything you can sight fish for. Yeah. Especially in an exotic environment. Where I'll tell you, it is again, the saddest thing now is that, like, today. I should have been in Punta Gorda, Belize fishing. We had a trip booked.
Oh, no way.
We had to cancel.
Oh, man.
So I'm hoping to be back there a year from now.
What was your first saltwater? What was the first species you hooked on salt?
Other than the mackerel we mess around with in Newfoundland, it would be bonefish.
Nice.
And I got to say, I remember going to a seminar. It was I don't know if it was the Isaac Walton Club here or something. It was I spoke at a thing in Hamilton here, and then they had a bunch of little breakaways, and a guy did a thing on bone fishing. And I never forget this guy making it sound like it was impossibly hard. Like like, unless you can cast 75 feet into the wind with a double hull and put it 6 feet in front of them, and you might as well forget. It's not true, right? It's not.
No,
it's not that hard. It's just stuff that's harder. And I think a lot of people get kind of intimidated by the idea, and they shouldn't. Like, if you go to certain places, if you want to target a double-digit bone, you might spend a lot of time setting that shot up. But if you want to catch bonefish out of schools and places where there's good popularity, like the Keys is hard, but if you can get yourself to Mexico or get yourself to the Bahamas, you'll catch bonefish. Even if you're not very good, you can catch bonefish, and it's loads of fun. It is.
Oh, so much fun.
It is great. I love it.
Yeah. So what is it about the sight fishing that gets you going?
Yeah, it's I'm not, and I guess I'm not a hunter at all, but I think it's the hunting aspect of the thinking aspect part of it, where you say, like, sometimes a shot just, it's like, a fire drill, right? It's go, it's right there. No one thinks about anything, and you got to dump it. But in those rare moments, especially if you're walking, and you see a tail, or you see a little bit of nervous water, or you see a flash like 100 yards away, and you're okay. I got to set this up. Yeah. And there's a fish down there somewhere, so okay, I got to start walking. There's the wind. Where's the light? Yeah. And plotting that angle, and then setting it up and then making the cast. Like, I love all of the stuff that goes, like, the set and the take and the first run of a bonefish is, that's amazing. Yeah. But I love the thinking part of it, the what it takes to kind of, again, that's why I love being able to walk and wade when you can. It's so much. I love it way more than being in the front of a skiff. Yeah, that's what it is. It's when when you, especially when you can do it yourself, when you get to the point where you see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's not the guy walking you into it. You go and you say, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
You know, that to me is super satisfying.
Yeah.
Oh, big time. There's something very satisfying about being able to see what people who don't have trained eyes can see. It's a
Yeah.
good feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a million times when you can't, like, how many times have you had the guy up on the tower behind you and said,
Yeah.
wait, what's wrong with you, essentially? It's a permit there. It's 38 feet in front of you, and it's plain as day, and you go, I
Where?
get my,
Dude, what's going on?
Totally.
So, I've had a lot of those experiences. So the rare time when, you'd actually say, hey, that looks like a fish over there, and you're right.
Mhm.
Yeah, you feel good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this lake with landlocked tarpon, that's pretty crazy. How big do those tarpon get in there?
Not very big, like, 10, 15 pounds, maybe,
Okay.
like a big one. But it's no one fishes it really. There's only, Little Cayman is a tiny little island. You fly to Grand Cayman, then take a twin otter over it. So there's only 180 people on the
So
island.
beautiful.
Oh wow.
So it's gorgeous. It's
Wow.
expensive because of it's expensive to get
Yeah.
food and stuff. But and then there's this brackish water lake in the middle of the island, and it's weird. There are almost no tarpon. Like the only tarpon you see on the shore are maybe a few dock tarpon hanging around looking for scraps, right? But no one really. There are no tarpon,
Yeah.
big tarpon that you ever see aside from the dock tarpon. There's a few little bit of bone fishing, a permit sometimes will show up. But in the middle of this, and no one quite, there's no science done, so no one can really tell you why they're there.
Yeah.
And there must be some flow because it's a coral island, so it's probably permeable. So there's some kind of water flow. But the water's goes from about 4 feet deep to about 18 inches deep. And you go out with a guy will row you out in something, very small. There's, again, only ever one boat in the lake. It's a pretty big lake. And you fish sunrise. So the feed comes on at sunrise, and which is an amazing experience.
Oh, man,
You're
I bet.
on this lake, the sun rises, and you start to see tails and dorsals. You hear fish pop on shrimp, and you sight fish to these.
Beautiful.
So with like a 7 or an 8 weight rod,
Yeah.
and you still got to make a good cast, and and once the sun gets high, they stop. But if you fish the bite for 2 or 3 hours at sunrise,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. And like on a normal day, you might get 3 or 4. On a really bad day, you might get 1. On the best day I ever had, I got 20.
Whoa.
Just they're just
Wow.
going crazy fishing a gulper on the surface. So they
Oh,
were
cool.
tarping, hitting stuff
Oh,
on the
that's
surface.
cool, man. Oh
I'm
my God.
looking at it on Google Maps right now.
Yeah, it's a very cool place, and
Jesus.
I say it's not really an angling destination.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
more of a diving destination.
Oh, cool.
All right.
But that Tarpon Lake is fantastic. I love it.
Oh man.
Wow.
Do you do any diving by any chance?
No, I don't. I'm a crappy swimmer even.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
no,
Sticking to the flats, right on.
I stick to the flats. I like the
Yeah.
flats. Yeah, I'm not and I'm not a blue water guy. Like
Yeah.
I've done some
Yeah.
blue water fishing. I just doesn't do much for me. I've never done the bait and switch for billfish or anything like that. But
Yeah.
the kind of standard bait fishing blue water stuff, even for big
Mhm.
stuff, it doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't grasp my attention either. I mean, I want to experience it one day, but yeah,
Just to try it.
doesn't-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, there's not much skill. Like the skill's with the guy running the boat.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
And it's like I've landed a 40 or 45 pound wahoo
Yeah.
on a rod,
Jeez.
and that without a mount, and that is a big fish,
That's a big fish.
but yeah, it's the kind of just trolling and dragging stuff around, and not really, again, there's none of that thinking part except for the guy who's running the boat. So
Yeah.
I hear that.
I just want to daydream for a second here because I know that we're all stuck inside and we don't know
Yeah.
how the heck long we're going to be in here. But we got some really cool stuff coming up. I mean, we would normally, trout opener, bass opener is going to be here soon. We got summers around the corner. What are you looking forward to the most? Let's hope that this thing is over soon. And what is the most thing that you're excited to get out for?
It's like I normally I do some kind of a spring trip. So I said I would be in Belize right now, or
Yeah.
be going somewhere, but that's obviously scrub. But
Yeah.
no, my favorite thing is, before I head out for the summer out to Newfoundland, is that once you get into May and you get a hatch,
Yeah.
I fish a stretch of the lower Grand.
Yeah.
So not up in Fergus or Elora, although I have fished up there, but I have a spot that's 20 minutes from where I live here.
Yeah.
There are browns, some big browns, and some resident rainbows. and then smallies later on if you want to do that too, which
Yeah.
are, on a pop are a lot of fun.
So fun.
But yeah, like I can fish 20 minutes from where I'm sitting here. I can be on the river. I fished there almost every night last spring that I wasn't doing radio, and there was never anybody else fishing.
Nice.
You get people coming down the river in rafts and stuff when it gets warm.
Yeah.
That's a pain in the ass. But in terms of actual anglers, I basically had the place to myself. It's sort of like the Newfoundland thing. I've been fishing the same stretch of water now for 15 years, so I know it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you get a mid-afternoon hatch, but often into the evening. We get into the first 2 weeks of June. You get like a brown drake hatch there at 9 o'clock and.
Oh man.
At night and in June when the big boys come out.
Yeah.
And there's the fish are big enough that I'm fishing a 5-weight, but the fish will take me down into my backing. Like there's some decent fish in there.
Yeah.
And with none of the angling pressure, right? I don't want to fish shoulder to shoulder with people. Like that's not what I got into this for.
I know.
So
Same.
Yeah, same.
I'm happy being in solitary, actually.
Yeah. So that's I know that's why I kept thinking, like, if the season opens, like, believe me, I won't be near anybody. I'll be socially distancing.
Oh yeah.
But honest to God, that for that stretch of about a month to maybe 6 weeks in there, once the water goes down a bit, once you get some hatching, man, oh man, that's some of the best fishing. My favorite fishing, of all those other places I go, I'm not sure that any of them are better than that.
Oh, I know. I hear you. I mean, it's such a beautiful river, and also just that time of year, like at nighttime, like early summer, nighttime hits, and it's like, it's just calm and warm, and the fish are hungry, and it's just like the light's right. It's just like such a nice, it's such a memorable thing. Like I remember those moments all year. They keep me going.
It's an astounding river, and it's so much of it is urban. It goes right through the middle of cities, and I've been out there. There's ospreys, there's beavers swimming by me when I'm casting. I came out one morning early and there was a bald eagle sitting on a rock with a fish in its talons. Like, that's right in the middle of southern Ontario here, and this huge population base, right? It's wild, and we're incredibly lucky to have some of the water we have. Like I used to, again, I don't fish the Credit because it's easier for me to go away from Toronto than closer to Toronto, right? Where I am. But man, with those two rivers, never mind the Ganney and the other stuff east of Toronto. Yeah. For considering there's 5 million people living around here, we have unbelievable angling at our doorstep.
Absolutely. Aldo took me to the Maitland last year for the first time, and I've been itching to go back every year.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and that's what 2.5 hours, right? So that's an easy shot from here. Yeah, I get it's great to go to exotic places, but we're in a there's not many places in Canada I don't think that are better than where we are right here.
Yeah, I know, it's true.
Agreed. Yeah, we had a Larry Halleck on, he's the president of the Trout Unlimited Club in your area. He takes care of the Middle Grand. Yeah, he was talking about the resident trout there, and I was like, I forget how far south their population, because I always, it's like you said, usually tend to go to Fergus or Elora, but then you forget about.
Yeah, I don't think many of them get south of there's a dam in Brantford at the Brant Conservation Area. I think the water gets too warm below that, but above that, except for you've got Steelhead coming up, obviously, but there's a bunch of springs that come in because if you go above Paris, there's no trout either. But there are places in there where there's cold water springs coming in, and like where in Whiteman's Creek too is the other place you can fish.
Yeah.
So that somehow those trout populations, I don't know what the origin of them is. I have no idea why they're there, but because obviously someone put them there at some point. But there's no trout in great stretches of the Grand because the water's too warm, but there are spots down there where where there's enough cold water to keep them going even in these really hot summers we've been having. So it's great. And again, I have found that I used to fish Elora a lot, and I love it. It's beautiful up there, but it's just there's too many people now. For my taste.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people in Southern Ontario. Oh man, it's crazy.
Good brewery in Elora though.
Oh yeah.
Which brewery is that?
Elora Brewing Company.
Oh,
that's a nice
name. It's like right on the river. It's awesome.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful. So then after the spring comes, then you head out. That's when you go out east for the summer.
Yeah. I usually go down there. I go to Newfoundland at the end of June, kind of around the 20th of June, and then the fishing peaks where I am in my river from about the 1st of July to about the 15th of July,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes a little earlier. And then you can move, I can go north from there. So some of the rivers up in the top of the Northern Peninsula that are still good way into August.
Yeah.
So there's, so I can fish there all summer, and then I come back here and try and find some fall fishing.
Yeah.
You know, and then I usually go, and then I say I go to Louisiana, usually in late October, early November for a few days for redfish, that's a great fishery.
Yeah.
that might have to be a yearly commute we did Texas last fall, and like I'm down to do that again.
So
every
fun.
year,
So
pretty much.
fun, man. Oh my God. Fly fishing
Yeah.
for redfish on the skiffs there. Oh my God. Talk about sight fishing and like,
Yes.
you know, seeing a really cool take, like redfish, just like the way their gill plates flare out and they just smoke the fly.
Yeah, we've had some great. My sons and I fished there, and I fished there with buddies. We've had some kind of all world days. You know that. You know, I remember we were last year. We were down there, and we're gonna keep a fish. You know, but we couldn't catch a fish small enough to keep.
Yeah.
We couldn't catch. We couldn't catch it. We couldn't hook a fish under 15 pounds.
Jesus.
You know, and the high end was like 27, 28.
Good jeez.
So that's a big redfish.
Yeah. Because I've heard Louisiana red fishing is quite different from Texas in the way the fish act and the way they behave. What is Louisiana like? How do you fly fish for them in Louisiana? What's the deal with that?
You're kind of out in grass, you know, grassy, you know, kind of the river mouths. We also fish some barrier islands if you can get out there. If the weather's good, there's some really good barrier island fishing. There's other stuff out there. There's like Jack Crevalle out there as well.
Right.
Nice.
Big Jack Crevalle. Shallow water. You know, sight fishing. You're you're fishing. You're looking for color and looking for movement and dorsals and tails, and the weather's really unpredictable there. It can be, you know, it can be like summertime hot, or it can be, you know, you're wearing gloves and toques, and that time of year it's hard to know. But and you can fish inshore. Fish are smaller, kind of in the channels and the grass, or the further out you go, the bigger the fish get generally. So but there's a lot of water. Like we fish out of Houma, which is west and south of west of New Orleans. And about an hour west of New Orleans. But there's there's a vast amount of water there. I think the guys we fish with have 6 different options in terms of where they put the boat in. And again, you don't get the pressure. The other side of New Orleans and south, you get a lot of pressure. But we, you know, we never see another boat when we're out there.
That's nice,
see some duck hunters, but we never see other fishermen.
No, that's nice. I think that's what I've seen is Louisiana. When you get out deeper, those reds get big. I mean, some of those pictures of people fishing reds in Louisiana, they're like huge, massive fish.
They're big fish, and they you know, and they're aggressive though. Like they're not like I fish for reds in Florida, in the Everglades and in Tampa Bay both, and that's a different fish. They're smaller, but they're way harder to catch.
Like really?
More selective.
Yeah, really spooky.
Spooky.
Really, really spooky. And you know, you can't, if you blow a cast, you got one shot, and then kaboom, right? And whereas the ones in Louisiana, if you get a fly in front of them, they'll eat it. You know, they're not timid. So and they're a lot bigger. So I got a nice red in Tampa Bay, like about 10-pound red there, which is a big one for there. And that was way harder to catch than any of the really big ones I caught in Louisiana.
Oh man.
So yeah, it's but it's they're cool fish. They fight really hard. They'll, you know, they run like crazy sometimes. And then occasionally, you know, you get big black drums occasionally. They don't do much, but they're huge, you know, like you go up to 40 pounds. Sheep's head, little sheep's head, if you can get them to take a fly, it's hard to get them on a fly, but yeah, there's some other stuff in there too.
We were Texas Grand Slam.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
we got to get you to Tobago, man. You know, I feel like we should get you on some big permit.
That's permit. I have hooked one in my life so far. I've got one. I got it down in Belize. Man, oh man, I've blown a lot of shots at them now, and had them refuse a lot of flies. So I'd love to. It's, you know, it's maddening. I'm not sure I'm going to spend my life chasing them, but boy, it felt good when I got that one last year. I'll tell you, I was pretty darn happy. It wasn't that big, but I was pretty darn happy.
The frustrations of the permit. Experience it with this man here. This man Aldo.
Tobago's a permit rich environment.
Well, I don't know anything about it. Like I don't know anything about it as a fishery, but
Neither did we.
Yeah.
It's kind of why I
Yeah.
went down there.
I went down there last Christmas and found out that there's one fly fishing guide there, and it's pretty. It's
You're
not as
alone.
yeah, you're alone, and there's a bunch of flats on the Atlantic and Caribbean side. And based on what we've seen, is that the majority of permit, like the more action that you can get with permit, are August, July, is a good
Ooh.
time to go down.
Okay.
And apparently, getting a Grand Slam is pretty frequent in there. So
Wow.
this is what the guide said. So yeah, you
we,
gotta
us
get
personally,
permit.
we saw a lot of
A lot of permit. Yeah.
like I think with the majority of my fly fishing in the salt has been Florida,
Yeah.
and then coming from Florida going to Tobago and seeing so many permit, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. That's,
Does the fly rod make it to Dunedin
Yeah.
at spring training?
it has. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I also have a guy just before I bailed out of there. I have a really good guide I work with. Who he's actually made a bunch of films too. He was doing a bunch of stuff for Costa, all those kind of extreme fishing films that they do. He was involved in that stuff. A great guide. So I go out with him, but I used his gear this time, so I actually didn't bring my. He set me up, but we went night fishing for snook, which
cool.
is loads of fun. You fish dock lights, and
that's so fun. That sounds so cool.
yeah, it's great. You're fishing behind all these huge mansions in Tampa, and
Yeah.
people get pissed at you sometimes. Like, the only worry is the guys come out with a gun to chase you away, which does happen. But yeah, if you go out at like 9 o'clock at night and fish dock lights for snook, it's all sight fishing.
And you just see their shadows and stuff?
Yeah, they come, those green dock lights that they have down there, a lot of people attract them.
Yeah.
And you just see them coming through the light. So
Oh God, that's so cool.
yeah, you can catch a bunch. And then you go under the causeway and we look for tarpon on the where the street lights come down in the water on the light line.
Oh man.
Sometimes there's big tarpon there. Now I have not hooked one. I've seen a few, but I think a little later, like when you get into April, May, it's I'm not sure you land many of them there. I don't think you do, but yeah, you can jump them reasonably easily. You can get really close to them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tarpon. There's a lot of stuff in Tampa Bay.
Man,
there's a lot of stuff in general. There's a lot. That's a great fishery.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. Yeah, really good redfish. Lots of snook as long as the weather's right.
Yeah.
And then you get stuff coming through like king mackerel and bluefish and
oh God.
I've caught all kinds of weird stuff in there.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Night fishing for tarpon and snook. Oh man. Yeah. That would be fun.
Yeah, it's worth it. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
That would be fun, yeah.
I got a question about pinging we're kind of pinging around the world here because I think that's cool. You're fishing all over. I want to go back to Newfoundland for a second just because I've heard people catching mackerel. I know it's probably like akin to like catching rock bass here or something like just on a small little rod. But like how do you fish mackerel on a fly rod? Like what kind of fly do you use?
It doesn't matter, no, they're because if they come in schools, like we get them in our bay, they come in schools in the late summer, and they'll take anything that's shiny. Like people use even with a spinning rod, use what are called mackerel flies, which are kind of like a clouser looking thing, kind of yellow and red, and they run a string of them.
Yeah,
they'll run and hook 7 or 8 mackerel at a time.
Yeah,
out of a school. So yeah, if you can get the line, depending on the wind, if you can get the line out far enough, and then just a real good quick strip, anything green, anything blue, anything with a little bit of flash, they're super aggressive because they're schooling, and they go too, right? They're fast and they'll run and they're fun to catch. But when they're on, the water almost boils with them. There's so many of them in it, right? These schools. So yeah, if on a flat day, you can see the schools going through the bay.
That's kind of fun, man.
Yeah, it is fun. And there, and I got I bought a smoker.
Yeah.
So I make smoked mackerel and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it right now.
That sounds like that's a cool
fresh
day.
smoked mackerel. Yeah.
That's a cool day.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do a segment on the show every show where we ask every guest the same 5 questions. It's not like a buzzer beater thing. It's just another 5 questions, but we always ask these 5 questions. It's called Mitchie's Fishies 5 because my name is Mitchie, and there's 5 questions, and they're all about fish. We really pull out all the stops on the show. Okay, so the first question is, what is your favorite fish and why?
It's probably Atlantic salmon. It probably is at this stage. Yeah. I think so. Because of the challenge and because of the like a salmon take is still
Oh, yeah.
there's nothing like it. That moment, especially if you've been working for a while and suddenly something happens. That little bit of movement, you see a little swirl, and you go, okay, that's
Oh, yeah.
that's probably look. I say, I'll fish for anything. I have Catholic taste. Like I don't
Yeah.
care. I'd rather get a tight line.
Totally.
Yeah,
I think
and
you're yeah, I think
I've said that to guides, at times.
Yeah.
When something's not where I said, look, can we just get tight on something? Let's,
Yeah.
let's go shark fishing or something. Like I've done a flyer. I've done it,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, there's nothing like an Atlantic salmon, especially on a dry fly. Like that's
Pretty wild, man.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard so much about Atlantic salmon. Like Aldo did a trip to the Gasp last year, and obviously we've had guests on the show are going off about Atlantic salmon, and I think it's just that, to me, it sounds like it's just that wildness of the fish and the unpredictability of it, is what makes it so special.
Yeah, and they're in the air, and
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a huge one. Like I think the best, the biggest salmon I've landed is probably about 20 pounds.
It's decent fish, man.
In the Godbout, I think, right? And but like in Newfoundland, you're not going to run into a lot of 20-pound salmon. They say it's mostly grills, but
Yeah.
I think the most exciting fish I've caught have been way smaller than that.
Yeah.
Just 7 or 8 pounds sometimes. That even 5 pounds, but they were just in the air and all over the place and across the pool. And
Yeah.
so there's something to be said for that, especially if you're if you've got the right weight gear. Like if you're not overpowering them and let them do what they want to do. That's pretty exciting. In cold water, they're nice and fresh. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Oh man, that sounds fun. Atlantic salmon, baby. We got to do it.
You do, man.
I know.
You do.
Okay, number 2 is a cool one actually, because you do like going all over the place. This one is, if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's like the best time to go, where would you go and why?
Whew. That is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because they're all a lot of great places.
So many good places.
I'll tell you, I haven't been back to the Bahamas in a little while, and and especially Abaco, I love it. After the hurricane, man, it just that went right through. That's exactly where I fish. But on a white sand flat there, like that's walking a white sand flat in the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh,
hard to beat that.
I'm looking at the flat of the Grand Cayman right now. It is super long. I don't know what side of.
Oh, is that Grand? Yeah, that's the big island. Yeah, it's. I've never fished that. I've never fished Grand. We always just go right on the little. Grand, so, but a white sand, a hard white sand bonefish flat.
Yeah,
and the best ones that I've seen have been in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, that sounds pretty nice, especially right about now. I mean,
it would work, wouldn't it? Yeah,
that'd be all right. Okay, number 3 is, what is your best fishing memory?
It's probably fishing with my dad, or fishing with my sons, like it's both. Like I remember both my sons getting their first salmon. Like that was pretty cool, My oldest kid is like he's like a salmon magnet. He's always had great luck catching Atlantic salmon. He got his first one. He was 13 or 14. We were out in Newfoundland and way out in the back country. And the guy gave him a beer after he got it. It was great. So that guy, either way, I have really fond memories of fishing with my father. Yeah. In our little stream, up near Georgetown, and but yeah, fishing with my kids, man, it's been great. And again, I get to do it at some pretty cool places.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Fishing with family is always.
Good answer.
I love fishing with people. Like it's fun to fish alone, but fishing with people is also that's kind of the stuff I remember most of the time.
Yeah, as long as they're, they got to be equally committed to it.
Yeah.
Like I would say from experience that you don't want to share a boat, a skiff with somebody who is not as committed to it to you, or is not essentially at your level.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
You can fish with somebody who's better than you.
Yes.
That's okay.
That's good.
But it's what I'm talking about. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. That's you got to be matched to make it right. To make it work.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How long?
In general,
How long are we gonna fish for? Are we done? I'm tired. I want to go back.
Yeah, that's
I hate that stuff, man. Get out
or
of
like a million blown shots in a row, and
you're
kind
like
of staring at your feet. And, okay.
I remember fishing with Aldo in Texas, and I kept strip setting on redfish, and he looked like his head was gonna pop off.
Yeah, the trout doing the trout lift.
Yeah, sorry, I was trout setting. I
Yeah.
wasn't strip setting. And
Yeah.
I kept, every time I would do it, I'd go, shit. And I'd look back and Matt and Aldo would just be like, God damn it, Mitch. Like, it's like,
We've all done it, man.
Yeah.
We've all done that.
I just was doing that because I had the camera. I was like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ready for me to make this sweet set. And then I just like fling it right out of the mouth. Yeah. Amazing. Number 4 is, why do you fly fish? Why do you fly fish at all?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because it's hard to explain to people who don't do it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, but it's, and again, I don't, like, if I tide flies, it would be the total package, I guess. Then I would say, I create this thing and I take it out and I, try and match something and try and figure out, understand nature a little bit for a moment. I do think that's part of it, though, is that sense of that you have to be present.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a cliche on a meditation tape or something, but it's true. You have to be. You use your eyes and your ears. You have to be. Like, and again, I love that. If I'm out on my favorite spot here, and you hear a little tiny splash, or just a fish, you can hear a fish sucking a fly somewhere, and say, okay, where was that? And you see maybe a little ring or something, and just that sense of kind of, it's not just about, it's not about the hooking and the landing necessarily. It's that whole thing.
Yeah.
That whole process of being, engaged with the natural world, and it's meditative, right? It's you have to think, and you have to kind of, you have to be strategic, and you have to, and there's some physical skill, and there's fine motor skills, and all kinds of things can go wrong. Lord knows that's true. But I love that sense of, when it's right, that you're just, there's nothing else.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole universe is you and a fly rod, and what's in front of you, and like I don't have anything. There's nothing else does that for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
No, I know it's true.
I stopped meditating since I've been fly fishing.
Yeah.
I can. It is. There are no bad. I'll say, like, I golfed when I was a teenager, and then I quit, and I wasn't bad. And but I literally walked off a golf course on the second tee and never golfed again, because I realized I hated it. I hated the people, and people were angry, right? And they're throwing their clubs, and and I'm thinking, these guys are assholes, and this isn't fun, right? Like, this, why am I doing this? And you could go out and fish and not catch anything, and it's still good.
Yeah, totally,
right?
100%.
I've never had a bad day fishing.
Yeah.
So
I love you, Steve.
Yeah. Oh, God.
It's true, man. Golf, I know. I hear you.
Yeah.
Fishing is definitely much more. Well, yeah, you're right. You got to plug yourself in. I mean, like, fly fishing in nature, like, you got to understand so much more about the environment, the nature, and what's around you. So you're just like, the default is you have to kind of unplug yourself and become more in tune with what's going on around you. It is meditative for sure.
Yeah. No, it's I say, like, if I need to kind of get myself into a space, if I'm having a tough time, or or I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can take myself to a place. Yeah. Where, and I say, okay, I can take myself back there if I need to.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's a great answer. Number 5 and the last in Mitchie's Fishies 5 is what fly pattern represents you best and why? Like, if you were a fly, what would you be?
Oh, man. That's a good question, man. The pattern, I tell you, the pattern I fell in love with last year, salmon fishing, which I'd never used before, green machine. And I'd never used, and I never used it before, right? And the ones I was using, like, because it's tied a whole bunch of different ways, but these ones were like, they're almost tied like a dry fly, but you use them as a wet fly, right? And I've only, the other ones, I found some other ones that weren't as good, but that fly last year, and again, I'm trying to think what it is, like, why I kind of, like, you bond with a fly, right, at certain situations, right?
Like
totally.
That,
And it was just, it just cut such a perfect line through the water, and it moved at the perfect speed, and I had and it's kind of an ugly looking thing, right? Like, it's not a pretty fly in any way, and again, it doesn't look like any insect. Like, I'd love to say a tiny little perfectly tied trout fly or something, where it's like a little perfect little number 18 blue wing olive or something, right? That you go like that. But, and I use those things too. But this thing, this thing doesn't look like anything. Yeah. and it's not really a wet fly, and it's not really a dry fly.
Yeah.
But my God, they're I caught 2 really good fish on it last year in the same pool in the same place. Big fish for Newfoundland, and just kind of watching that thing, I can see it in my head now. That just see the thing going skimming across the water, and this head coming out and taking it,
scooping it.
So yeah, that's
Awesome.
I'm not sure that's a good explanation, but that right now that's my
I love it.
that's my holy fly right now.
It's
Yeah,
a good one.
You'd be the green machine. I love that. That's
Yeah.
great. I love that.
I don't think we've had a green machine as an
No.
answer.
No, I
No.
don't think we ever have. That's a good answer. I think I think we keep saying one day we're gonna make a book of all the answers, and we'll put a picture of you, and then we'll put the green machine on the other page, and
yeah, perfect.
a
Yeah,
little
that's great.
explanation
Yeah.
why.
Ugly old fly. Yeah, that'll work.
It's awesome. So you mentioned that you don't tie flies. Is that something you ever thought you might get into?
I tried it when I was a kid. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I may not have the fine motor skills to do it. I don't know. I admire people who can. Like I know some great tires, and some out in Newfoundland especially. I know some unbelievable tires out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to let them do it for me. Like I understand it, and I understand the art. But and I wish, there are times I wish in the middle of winter maybe I had that going for me where I could sit and tie, but I just don't think that's my thing. I just don't. I'm not sure I'd be good at it. I wasn't good at it, and yeah, it's just I don't think it's me.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough. I mean, it's true. That is, it is a good. I mean, right now it's a great time to be tying flies. We've been
I bet,
kind of tying
yeah.
a little bit more because it's just kind of like we need to stock the boxes, and we're always like, we got no time. But it's like right now we have tons of time, so it's perfect.
Yeah,
No excuses now.
Exactly.
no excuses now. Yeah.
Stephen, thanks so much for coming on the show today, man.
It's a blast. Man, this has been a tonic for me. I got to
Yeah.
tell you.
Oh,
It's been
great.
talking fishing, man. I just wish we were fishing,
I
but
know.
hey, soon enough.
Yeah. Hopefully,
Fair
Fair enough.
when all this thing's over, we can connect on the water and go for some trout.
I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
absolutely in. Yeah,
Awesome.
Right on.
just point the direction. Tell me the day I'll be there.
Perfect.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much, and also, maintain your sanity in isolation, and I hope everything goes well for you. Thanks so much again for coming
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, you too, guys. Stay safe, man.
Okay.
And,
Good meeting.
we'll get through it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks,
All
Stephen.
right.
All right. See you
man.
guys.
See ya.
Peace.
Well, that was Stephen Brunt. It was a great chat. Thanks for coming on the show again, Stephen. Yeah, it was fun to talk about. It's nice to have these podcasts where we can just talk about fishing, and just chat about just fishing, no heavy topics, no, during these heavy times, just be able to escape for a bit and go south, fish the salts through stories, and it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And although I think you played it cool, man, because you're a huge fan of Stephen Brunt, because
yeah, I'm a
you're
huge fan.
a big
I'm
baseball guy,
pretty-
and Stephen's
just-
one of the best sports writers in the country.
Well, for me, especially when I really got into, I didn't really get into baseball before moving to Toronto. Ottawa didn't have, I don't have to tell you this, Ottawa didn't have baseball.
Ottawa Lynx, man.
Yeah, well, they disbanded, man. The whole team disbanded.
Yeah.
Didn't really have baseball, so I never really got it. I get, we won 92, 93. That didn't really land for me, right? So,
Yeah.
it's cool watching highlights, sort of, but you have no attachment to that. But after moving here and going to games, somebody brought me to a game like baseball, and I went. I was like, baseball, and then it became one of my favorite things to do, because you can ride your bike.
Yeah.
The tickets are cheap, or at least they were before they started winning.
Yeah.
And ride my bike to, on a Tuesday, Wednesday. It's sunny out,
Yeah.
dome's open. You got a beer and some popcorn.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a good feeling, man.
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
And you can it's just a great way to spend. You go with your buddies and you just chat,
Yeah.
and it's
It
Yeah,
is
it's
fun.
the best.
well. And then so I started reading and listening to sports radio, especially in the car driving around from restaurant to restaurant.
Yeah.
Every day. And it was more often than not Steven's voice in the car.
Yeah.
So it was when I was working at Drift stocking shelves, and then all of a sudden he was in the store. I was like, wait a minute, I know that guy.
I know
Yeah,
that
he's just
guy.
a cool dude. And he just loves to fish, and it's cool that he got a passion for it in Ontario.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, it is. It is really cool, and and then he fishes the same waters as us, and we can share that kind of passion together. It's fun. It's always fun to see who's out in the community, and it's amazing because we never know. Did you know Stephen Brunt was a fly fisher before you heard him come in the shop?
No.
Yeah. So it's like we never, you just kind of like every day we learn more and more things about the community that we didn't know before. And it's like you've been listening to him for years, and then he's a fly fish is where you fly fish. It's like crazy, man. It's super cool.
I know. It's like same water I fish.
Yeah.
Kind of. And he's right about Atlantic salmon too. Like, I know I keep droning on about this, but it's almost like, I guess you could like even draw a parallel to the flies you use for them. It's like unbelievable that a fish takes. So I think that's what makes it so special.
Right.
Because like you're there, you see them, and you're just swinging constantly, and then all of a sudden it happens, and you're like, you almost don't register it
Yeah.
until like it's just complete chaos. It's
Yeah.
complete chaos because they're just like, and you've been spending a whole day not doing anything but swinging flies through a
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah. No, it's true. I know. We definitely got to do that. It's the afternoon now. It's 2:15, 2:16.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
we are drinking some 40 Creek.
Yeah, we poured some 40 Creek.
Poured a little 40 Creek because it's Sunday and we're not going anywhere.
Nope.
And why not, What do you guys got? What are you guys planning today?
Well, I might try to play some video games.
What's that, Aldo?
I might play some video games.
Ooh. Yelma?
Gilma?
Yeah, probably just. Oh, actually, fuck, man. I got a call at 2:30 with my mom, who's in Trinidad, my dad in Mississauga, my sister in Brampton. So
Oh, nice.
Nice.
yeah, I got a little screen
luck.
time. They want to do tea time, and they want me to put a dress shirt on to.
That's
I love
fun.
that.
That's fun. Are you going to do it?
I have to.
Do you have tea?
I do. I have some. Some nice variations of
Okay.
some teas, some nice varietals.
Uh-huh.
Got that President's Choice Orange Pico.
Yeah,
Earl
exactly.
Grey.
Little
That Earl
CC
Grey,
Pico.
yeah.
Nice.
Oh.
Yesterday, I was writing a fishing article for somebody, and I was writing it. He wanted me to write a story about like what my good day on the water looks like. What does a good day on the water look like to you? Which I thought was a super cool topic, and I like started writing, and I ended up writing about Bass Lake Bass Opener last year, and how fun that was. And then I got thinking about Bass Opener coming up, and I'm like, God, it can't come soon enough. Like I'm sitting here just like thinking about fishing that day. Remember, it was perfect weather, sunny, 20 degrees. We were just bobbing around that lake with Doritos, listening to music, drinking Bush, and catching largemouth. I'm like, God, that was fun, man.
It was so much fun.
Oh God, I'm looking forward to that.
They were saying that Yilma, you've got that weird little raft and that we can use as a snack barge this year.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, definitely.
we'll put a cooler on it.
We can just float a cooler on it, and it can just be a
Anchor it
snack.
straight up,
Yeah.
anchor it in the middle of the pond, and then we
That's
just
amazing.
kick to
Cable.
it. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's like brand new. It's just sitting there. It's gonna
That's
be
such a
great.
good idea. Like we're so gonna put a cooler on that thing and just anchor it in
Back
the middle of the
barge.
lake. Yes, and with the meet at the barge, and we'll all just kick over to the barge.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great idea. Shit.
Yeah, fuck.
And then we start getting more sophisticated. We'll bring like a Coleman stove, and we can make like hot dogs.
What?
This whole flotilla of things for back opener.
We're just out there cooking and drinking. And,
We're not leaving.
oh man, that's the only reason we had to leave was because we had to go back for lunch,
Yeah, that's it.
eat some hot dogs. So we could just if we could bring the dogs out there.
Yeah,
have to
that's
leave.
smart.
But I was thinking about that. I was like, man, that's going to be, oh, God, I can't wait for that. Because trout opener is also awesome. Every year we have so much fun trout opener. We see Joe on the river and we fish and we catch fish and it's fun. And we've gotten lucky with weather in the past years, but it's only a few weeks away. So it's like, I don't think it's going to happen this year for us in the same sort of way that it has before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely won't be. Yeah, it's tough, right? Because it's like, yeah, you're isolated on the river, but at the same time, you're not staying home. So it's like,
I know.
Yeah.
might not
Yeah.
be.
No.
Exactly. Because the thing is, you got to get gas. Maybe you stop to get something to eat. So it's like, you know, it's maybe not the best thing to do, but people are still fishing. And I'm like, I don't know. Like it feels kind of, I get it. Because if you have a way you can get to the river and you're not coming to kind of, great, go do it. But, you know, we're definitely not going to be together and, you know, hugging after we catch a brown and Yilma freaking out. And
Yeah.
it's not going to be like that this year. So the next thing is bass opener, you know. It's like maybe it'll be a little better by then. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm just dreaming right now. I'm just daydreaming of good times gone past last summer. We're so naive to the whole thing and just living our lives. Look at us
Yeah.
now, cooped up.
Yeah, no, I'm dreaming too, Mitch. I'm there with you.
Couple of fish in a tank. Look at us. But we are tying. We are tying flies though. We head over to our YouTube page, because we have a video out of us blindfolded fly tying bass streamers for bass opener if we are able to make it this year together. But yeah, check that out on our YouTube page. I'm actually trying to upload it right now. It's been kept failing for me, guys. I don't know. I gotta figure it out. I'm gonna try again and see if it works.
Hey, the good thing is Rob from Drift gave me some tying material and some utensils, flying. They got scissors. I got my vise. I have my
Got all the stuff you need.
bobber.
Bobbin.
Bobbin. That's what it is.
Bobber.
So,
Bobber. You know what a bobber is?
Bobber is.
It's like the basics, most basic of fishing things.
I got my bobbin, and I'm going to be tying things without any information or without any experience, and I'm going to see if it fishes.
Well, information you can get.
Well, from you two, yeah.
Tim Camisa, man, or just like go look
Or-
at Tim's.
Or Chris's videos on Drift.
Yeah, they've been doing
Yeah.
tying videos.
I know. I've been watching them. They're pretty good.
Rob's videos too, man. Rob's a great tire.
Yeah. When I started
Yeah.
fly tying, I would go on YouTube and watch. There was this fella down in down in the States somewhere. I think it might have been Ohio or something, and he did tie-in videos, and they were great. So I used those to watch techniques, and then I had this book, like Fly Tying for Beginners, and it was just, it was like a spiral-bound book of just recipes, and it was killer because it would just say everything you need, and you just go and once you know the techniques, you know exactly how it's tied. So then you just work your way through the book.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
well,
it.
actually, Rob uploaded some like fly patterns with like
Oh, nice.
with I guess you could call them a menu item.
Mhm.
It has a picture, then it has like what you need to tie it, which is cool. Of
Mhm.
course, you can always, if you don't have that exact thing, you can always change colors too.
Yeah,
That's true.
But
Exactly.
yeah, Tim's a great resource, man. Tim's videos are awesome.
Oh, they're great. Check them out for
Yeah.
sure. And I think we're gonna try to do a little YouTube video with Tim too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think he's down.
That'd be fun.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah.
What was I gonna say?
I don't know, baby.
I don't know. What are you
Oh,
saying,
the
baby?
time last year I was on a river with Tim, and you guys
Oh yeah.
were in South Africa.
Oh, that was exactly a year ago.
All right. That's
Free as
right.
birds. Yeah, we
Yeah.
fished. We fished. A year ago. We were fishing for rainbows in South Africa and doing some work.
Browns in Pennsylvania.
Oh
What's-
man. Yeah.
Oh,
We gotta do what we gotta do. You know, like it's
Well,
it's
you know-
a tough time.
You know how lucky we were.
Oh,
Because
how
we had those
lucky!
experiences, you know?
Exactly.
I knew how lucky we were.
Great way of looking at it. Very lucky to have those experiences, and we can look back on them. We can talk about them now.
Yeah.
Remember days gone by. Cherished moments on the water with pals.
Yeah, I can't wait to do more saltwater fly fishing. He
I
got me
know.
all juice.
Yeah.
As frustrating as it can be, it's cool. So much fun.
Yeah.
It is cool. But you know what I'm looking forward to, Aldo? Some pike this June. Definitely looking forward to that,
Pike?
if possible. Yeah. I had such a good time at Wabascat, and I haven't had a pike on my line since then. So this June, if all fares well, that's gonna be a good fucking trip. I'm excited.
Jesus.
Whoa.
Sorry, you can beat that one out.
No,
I'm just excited.
I'm not
Yeah.
beeping anything.
No,
out.
thank you, man. Yeah, we got invited to Ensagami Lodge up in Nakina, which is 14 hours north.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
And hopefully we
Yeah.
get to go up there because that'll be really, really cool. And
Yeah.
if we don't this year, I'm sure we will eventually. But
Eventually,
but-
for sure, because it looks
Really
it's so
rad.
beautiful out there.
yeah, and the operators seem like really, really great people.
Yeah.
So it'll be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this year, if we're able to, eventually, if the three of us can get together again, at least we'll be able to go explore more of our Ontario home waters, and that's always fun to do. Obviously, we always go up north when we can, and so that's, I think, what this year would be, because we would just, if we wouldn't be able to travel abroad to see our friends south of the border, we'll just we'll go around Ontario, you know, as long as we
like,
can.
hey, good, you still haven't been to the Saugeen. Man.
I know, I haven't fished a sardine.
Oh, the sogging in the summer too.
Yeah.
There's a dude. Trip took me to where the Saugeen, the Maitland, I forget the other river where they
Beaver?
start falling out. The Beaver, where they start falling out,
Yeah.
funneling out, and it's cold all through the summer. Hottest days you can fish for trout, which
Yeah.
people don't know. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe we shouldn't tell anybody this, but it was amazing. It's gorgeous.
Like I said before, if you're not with Trip, you won't find his spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even when you're with him, like he took me to a spot. Like, even if you showed me the trailhead, I couldn't find.
Yeah.
Probably couldn't find the river from the trailhead.
Trip is he's one with the river. Those rivers up
He
there.
is one with the river.
He knows them like the back of his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's what he
he's
does.
fun to fish with.
But yeah, the beaver, that would be cool too, because both of you guys
I haven't.
have a beaver.
Yeah.
Well,
No.
sorry, you have. Sorry, my bad. But yeah, Mitch, Saugeen, the beaver.
I know.
And like the more with Larry and Steven, like we were talking about the middle.
Oh.
Talking about the middle grand, you know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I know. Go fish our.
Yeah,
Or-
try to find those trout.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And on Buckshot and up, up on Bass Lake where we like to go, and and obviously up to Temagami, up to Elk Lake. I hope that those guys are doing okay. I'm gonna send them an email, I think, just to see how things are going for them up there, because we haven't talked to them in a little bit. But hopefully they're doing okay up there. And I don't know, it is a tough time, but everybody hopefully they get through it, because they're great. Man, Ontario, baby, I love it.
Yep.
I
Lots of love.
Lots of love. Well, thanks everybody for listening to the show today. I think it was a good one. It was fun again, like I said, just to step out of the craziness for a moment, talk about fly fishing with Stephen Brunt, who is, as Aldo said, one of the best sports writers in the country, North America. So check out Stephen's stuff. I'm sure if you're listening to the show, you've probably already a pretty big fan of Stephen. He is a fly fisher, and that's amazing. Thanks so much again, Stephen, for coming on the show. And that's it for me, Mitch. Aldo.
That's it from me.
Hey, Elma.
That's it, guys. Great. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Thanks for listening, and take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and take care. Thanks for
All right. I gotta call my mom,
And take
but
care.
You can find all of SoFly's content at sofly.ca. On Instagram, we're at the SoFly Crew. You can reach us at thesoflycrew@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or concerns. On Facebook, we're SoFly, and our podcast is available on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify.